Okay, so I have this Hitachi CG22EAB parenthesis SLP on the bench here, and today I'm going to be changing the metering diaphragm in the carburetor as it has gone bad and it is causing the needle inside the carburetor to stay open and cause the machine to flood. This is actually a very simple repair that anybody can do with a couple easy to use screwdrivers. There's nothing more that you will need than the screwdrivers and a carburetor kit. This is a different carburetor kit. This is for a Walbro carburetor, but I believe it's a WYL carburetor kit, and the one on these machines is a little bit different. But the metering diaphragm should be relatively the same. So we'll begin by removing the air filter cover here, and this just pops off just like so. And inside of here is two Phillips head screws, which you can see right there. And we're going to want to remove those. When you remove these, the carburetor will come loose from the machine. We're not going to be removing the throttle cable or anything like that when we do this repair, as you want to keep it as simple as possible. So you can see the carburetor has come loose. So there's two lines that we want to remove. This one here on the carburetor, the one on the back side here, and there's also one underneath that connects to the primer bulb. It is the Redline. On your machine it will be clear. We'll now remove these two screws, and we'll just set them aside. This portion here will slip away like this, and we can actually pop our Redline off of the primer assembly, just like so. We can set the whole air filter assembly aside. We now have the carburetor still attached to the throttle cable, and something that you want to be careful of is do not lose your gasket. If you look here, you can tell by this witness mark or imprintation on the actual gasket material. This side actually goes to the machine, as you can tell by the shape here, and this side goes to the carburetor. So we're just going to set that to the side for now, as we do not need that. This is a Walbro WYC carburetor, and the part that we are going to be changing is the metering diaphragm. It is underneath of this cover. It uses 4 JIC screws, but you can use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove these. JIC are very similar to Phillips, but the end of a Phillips head is very sharp and pointy, where the end of a JIC is actually not pointed at all. JIC screws are commonly used on Japanese electronics and motorcycles, as well as Japanese power equipment. JIC stands for Japanese Industrial Standard. So we'll go ahead and remove these. And we're only going to remove this lower portion. We're not going to disassemble the rest of the carburetor, as to not break the seal here between these mating surfaces. So this is the part that we are going to change. It is the metering diaphragm. As you can see, it's very hard and actually makes a crackly type noise when we push on it. this diaphragm is supposed to be very supple and very easy to move. So here is our old metering diaphragm, and here is our new one. You can see that they do look slightly different. As I was saying at the beginning of this video, I actually went with a cheaper kit as the WYC kit wasn't available, and there was only a full carburetor option that I could find, and it was quite expensive. But if you take a closer look here, you'll actually notice that all of these holes will indeed line up with each other. So we're going to be using this one here as our replacement. And as you can see, this one is very hard and stiff, and this one is very soft and supple. So with our carburetor flipped upside down like this, we'll first put on our gasket. Secondly, we'll put on our metering diaphragm. As you can see, this lines up perfectly. We'll now install the cover and our screws. Now these screws are quite small, and you do not need to apply a lot of torque to them. Always tighten your carburetor screws like this in a crisscross pattern as to even out the clamping force that is being applied to the gasket and mating materials. So I'll just go around and just double check the torque on all four of these screws, and they do not have to be killer tight. Snug is plenty tight. And just like that, they're on and tight, and we can get to reassembling the machine. So what I'm going to do is just install this fuel line here to help prop the carburetor up. I'm then going to pull this Redline down like this. I'm going to install it back onto the primer assembly. So now you can grab your longer Phillips head screws and install them. You'll notice the carburetor is further away from the machine, and you can install your gasket now. This goes in between the intake manifold and the carburetor, and you can just tilt it like this and get your screws started. Now you can tighten them with your screwdriver. Once again, these only have to be snug. You don't want to forget about this line here. It just slips onto the carburetor just like that. Now we can install our air filter cover, and this machine will be ready to run. Okay, so we have some fuel in the machine, and we'll prime it. It's priming fine, so that is working. What was happening with this machine, it was very hard to actually start, and it would flood very easily. So I ended up using a small clamp and clamping off the main inlet fuel line, and the machine would run really good until it would run out of fuel. So I'd unclamp it, get it started, clamp the line, because before that it would run very poorly and it would actually flood out. So as soon as I clamped the line, it would run fine, which made me believe that there was an issue with the needle staying open due to the metering diaphragm actually holding the needle open, and my suspicion was correct. So we'll see how this thing runs now. I know that the actual pumping diaphragms were working fine, as it was pumping fuel fine. It was just that it was flooding. So we've got the switch on. we'll put the choke on and we'll see if it starts. There we go. Started up and ran fine. So that should be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.